and welcome to the easternKicks podcast, a regular magazine programme about East Asian film led by me, Andrew Heskins, founder and grandmaster of easternKicks.com, and James Mudge, our leading writer.
Hey up.
Each episode we'll be taking a look at the latest films, news and festivals, often chatting to filmmakers and stars along the way. Welcome to 2024. It's our first episode of the new year, and once again James and I are going to be running through our easternKicks picks for the month, a curated section of new and upcoming releases across streaming services and in cinemas. Before we get on to that, James, there is always the most important question of the episode. What are you drinking?
Well, it's a poor start to the new year, frankly, because I'm back down in London and having shopping problems in the local area. So the only thing I had left in the cupboard was the Stockport IPA, Co-op's very own 4.5%. To be fair, it's not a hipster IPA, it's an amber IPA, like an old-fashioned one, but it's still not a good start to the year. I won't lie. I mean, you've got something better by the look of it.
Yes, it's a bottle of Le Chouffe.
Oh, Le Chouffe, yes, that's a nice beer. It's a strong one as well.
8%, yes.
Yeah, almost double what I've anyway, let's move along from that, and the next episode I'll be back to normal.
One can only hope. So let's kind of get in with the stuff that's coming up. And as regular listeners and readers of easternKicks will know that James and I run Focus Hong Kong, and we've got some screenings coming up for the Chinese New Year. Yes, we do three films, two at BFI and one at our old friends the Garden Cinema. So BFI, very happy that we've got the UK premiere of Anne Hoy's new one, Elegies doc, a very, very personal doc she's apparently wanted to make for many, many years about poetry and about it's that kind of great pretentious line, you know, through her journey through poetry becomes a journey through Hong Kong itself. It is good. I mean, it's a fair enough thing to say because it is about poetry, but it is kind of wider about herself and about Hong Kong, everything as well. I mean, of course, in this day and age, without getting into anything very specific about Hong Kong and politics or culture, but just a story of the landscape, I guess. So very glad we've got that UK premiere, and we've also got, I think it's the UK premiere, I mean, it must be the 2K restoration of Stanley Kwan's Love Unto Waste, aka Love Unto Wastes,
which is really, 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 really annoying. because wastes is grammatically not right, but also because it just seems to completely be variable where it actually turns up how it's listed.
Well, I mean, I know the original. Well, the last DVD of it was definitely Love Unto Wastes. And variously, it's there, but whether that's a typo that's sort of slunk in over the years or deliberate, we may never know.
No, we may never know. But it's good to have that as well.
Yeah, and that's directed by our good old friend Stanley Kwan.
Yes.
His second film as director after Women, which we also screened as part of...
That's true.
We screened that one as part of the Chinese Visual Festival.
Yes, yeah.
And it's got Tony Leung and Chow Yun-fat.
Yes, in a bizarre role. Chow Yun-fat is a very eccentric detective who seems to be doing a Columbo impression, as I recall. Because we don't get a screen of the 2K version, I haven't seen this, I haven't seen it for ages, and I haven't seen this version, but the Chow Yun-fat role really is kind of what I remember from it as being bizarre. So it'll be good. I'm sure it'll look fantastic in the 2K on the big screen. So, and then screening Comrades Almost a Love Story again, because everybody loves it. Great film for Chinese New Year, and still not very widely seen.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we've discussed this before, but it falls into that whole of one of the films that's actually owned by Warner Brothers.
That's right.
And just hasn't had. I think it's it's the restored version that Peter Chan, the director, paid for himself, even though he didn't actually have the rights to it.
So complicated.
And so it looks really beautiful. But that version, I think, has only been released in a couple of territories. I think it had a fairly limited release on Blu-ray in Hong Kong, which hasn't come out again, and maybe in perhaps Taiwan or Korea, or maybe both.
There was somewhere else it came out, but it's in the same kind of way, very, very limited, and not surprisingly for a film of its stature, and how beloved it is. I mean, again, like this screening, I mean, it's certainly a time of recording. It sold out a while ago, very quickly, and all the screenings we've done have sold out.
So
it kind of shows the popularity of it, and the fact that people can't.
Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult to get a copy of it, let alone actually a decent copy of it.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, we're very, very proud to be screening it again, but it does show that there is a desire for it, and this kind of unfortunate limbo of Warner Brothers, who had was sort of late 90s, sort of mid to late 90s Golden Harvest stock, wasn't it, basically?
Yeah.
It kind of really puts the brakes on any of this coming out.
It does, and even for, I mean, without going in again to all our struggles in getting new screening materials, like there's so many films under that which technically you could license from Warner, but you wouldn't have any screening materials.
Yeah.
You know, or you just end up screening an old DVD, and there's not really much point in doing that. So it's it's a sad situation. I suspect a lot of other Hong Kong films are going to continue to fall into this limbo. As things go on, because so many, as we said many times, like so many of these old films are, the licensing rights are murky, and the owners don't really care because they're not film companies. So so we'll see. But anyway,
we're very, very happy to be.
We are. We certainly are. Yeah.
Back again.
I'm sure we'll do it again at some point.
So that's right. Shall we crack on with our rundown of what's on the screeners?
Sure. We start with old Amazon, I guess, which is more and more stuff appearing actually on Amazon, but not becoming any easier to find. I suppose the only tip I would say is like you could, in a kind of like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of way, if you look up one of these films and then you go through the customers have also watched, you can that's kind of your route to find. Because if you type in searches like Korean films, Japanese films or anything, you're going to get nonsense back. You're not going to get anything.
As we've said, the tagging is absolutely atrocious, and also even the search isn't necessarily particularly helpful.
Definitely not.
And sometimes you'll get different versions of films, and you'll come up with one that'll say not available in this territory, or
absolutely,
or not currently not available, and then you'll find another one where it is, and
the crappy versions, which who knows. We've uploaded which I'm not going to get in. We're not going to mention this as a proper film, like a proper pick. But I saw they've got like Revenge of the Street Fighter, really bad pan and scan, awful. You wouldn't watch it. It's that bad. It's obviously not one of the an Arrow one.
With some of that, because then you get into it should be to for a UK territory, but in the US you get. If it was owned by a distributor that went out of business, potentially it could be out of copyright.
Could be public
domain with the US releases.
Yeah.
It's not the same copyright law for Amazon, which probably don't care.
No, they probably don't care. And to be honest, like if you're a fan of the film, then
you wouldn't want to watch that.
No, you're not going to say, "Oh man, it's great." I won't get the remastered. Versions. I know. I'll just watch this.
Just watch this.
A bit of his head's off the screen. Fine by me.
What's going on? I don't know. It's a full widescreen and it's all going on the left, and you can't see what's happening.
Nonsensical. But anyway, so the first one, the Long Walk,
by Matty Doe.
By Matty Doe, Laos 2019, which we've obviously covered.
We did cover in great detail. So if you haven't heard that episode, we did chat to Matty and husband Chris.
Yes, that's right.
Who also wrote the script for it and has written several other films as well. And we had a really great chat. So I do recommend looking it up. And it's interesting that this has come up on Amazon, because was this a film that was on Shudder?
Yes, it was on Shudder. I'm not 100% sure if it's still there. And they had.
It's where the things get a bit nebulous in terms of what platform they turn up on, and
they do.
If they're in for want of a better phrase, let's say the streamer's called Muddy, Mudder. Let's call Mudder. Is it a Mudder original? Is it a Mudder exclusive? What does that actually mean?
No, exactly.
Or is it just on Mudder for a while?
No, but they definitely had. I'm almost certain they did have it, and it was next, because I'm sad enough to actually remember it was on their list next to Daniel Isn't Real, which is a very good film, and they had.
And also, it was released by another distributor online as well. It's come back to me as well. Right?
Yeah.
Before it was on Shudder. So these things kind of go round. And
I know it's crazy, because Shudder had her first film, her earlier one as well. What's it called? Something Sister.
That was the second film, Dear Sister.
Oh, sorry, second. Second film. Yeah, that was on Shudder before.
Yeah.
Anyway, fantastic film.
It is a really, really good film. I think I said it at the time, but I was surprised by how solid and interesting it was, and a really nice take on sci-fi and a sort of
sci-fi, supernatural, serial killer. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, very very interesting, and sort of also the time thing as well that's going on in there, and a sort of, but without over explaining it, and it's not a gimmick, and it's not over explaining the things that are going on, but it's just a very very intelligent kind of thing. So we can't recommend that one enough.
That's true. That's absolutely true. So some Hong Kong stuff appearing on there as well, which is kind of interesting. Chasing the Dragon from 2017, and Wong Jing film.
Yeah,
Donnie Yen, Andy Lau in it, and I haven't seen it. I don't think. I'm not guaranteeing I haven't seen it. I might have forgotten it because
there were a few that came out about the same time that had very similar.
Yeah, and it's very much another like the White Storm kind of one. It's about drug lords. I believe Johnny Yen's the bad guy in it. It got really mixed reviews. It didn't, but it did very very well.
I think even for easternKicks we might have given it a couple of reviews that were quite mixed.
Could have done, yeah. not by me, although maybe by me. I don't know. I'll have to check.
It was too memorable to.
But you've got it would be interesting to watch it. Just seeing 2017, it's kind of like smack bang before all the problems Hong Kong cinema's had over the last couple of years, but it's still well into the phase of mainlandification of Hong Kong cinema, and Wong Jing being very much on that kind of pro-mainland sort of side of things. So it'd be interesting just to see how it actually deals with like drug lord kind of subject matter. I assume it'll be the bad guy getting punished quite clearly and everything like that, but you can kind of, seeing these films, if we trace the path from something like back in the 90s to drug war to moving forwards to films like this to stuff we're getting now, which is getting more and more toothless. I think. I mean, certainly compared to older Hong Kong cinema, and it's interesting that directors still try to tackle these subjects, but you can see clearly the changes in Hong Kong cinema, and anything made now is just not really. They're not really anything which resembles the kind of gritty Hong Kong thrillers, which were so well known for their kind of blurring the line between the good guys and the bad guys, and the morality and the grey areas. So that's all completely gone. But so I don't know if this is like that, but I suspect 2017 it must be.
I think it's on the way. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see it popping up there, pretty random. Then also from Hong Kong, I mean, technically it's a Hong Kong film. It's kind of more of a mainlandy one, I guess. Is a Sakra, whoever you say it, I don't know. 2023, directed by Donnie Yen. It's based on Demigods and She-Devils by Jin Yong, which is those kind of things. Him or Louis Cha, they're very very difficult to adapt. We've seen so many Shaw Brothers.
Yes, and I mean, and I think I watched it, and it does suffer from. But in the same way you could say about a Marvel film, it suffers from the world that's created and all that that knowledge that needs to kind of come in. And it's very hard to make something where you kind of need to have some of that knowledge to kind of understand.
Yeah, to get the most out of it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's quite bewildering. To be fair, but it's better than I thought it was going to be. This kind of film like now it's. CGI heavy. It's about as far away you could get from an old school Shaw Brothers or Marshall. Everything. It's not even like crazy wire work. It's just full on, not very great quality CGI assault. But taking all that into account, it's actually a lot better than it could have been.
I mean, it does. Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of feel the same way about it. I mean, the CGI stuff it does for me. It does kind of get in the way because you want that old school. Yeah. And even the wire work. However silly that may have looked, for me feels a lot more genuine,
physical. I mean, it's, in theory, these books. I've not read them. I've just delved into bits and pieces of them. But in theory, like CGI and stuff should allow you to finally start visualizing some of the crazy stuff in them. But it's just not. I don't know. Chinese cinema doesn't have a good history with CGI. It's never really. There's a few films aside here and there, but for martial arts, for action and stuff, I think that's fair to say. It doesn't have a good history of CGI.
I don't think CGI works with sort of physical action. Let's put it that way. Anyway, I think you always see a figure that moves around like it's in a computer game, and to me that's.
And there's definitely a feeling of that.
Really disappointing.
But it, could be. could be worse. I guess is a nice way to put it. So it's fairly long, but if you're into wuxia and stuff, there's no harm in checking it out. And if you're a Donnie Yen fan, then you'll probably like it anyway, because most of his fans like anything he does. So have at it. But South Korea next. There's quite a lot of South Korean ones appearing, and even more. This is where you start getting the really random stuff. Very, very strange.
It just seems to be quite a random selection that's just popped up.
Yeah,
from nowhere.
It really is. So in no kind of order or logic to them. Starting off with the tiger, aka the Tiger: An Old Hunter's Tale.
Yes, which I knew
2015.
Yeah.
It's a good film. It's on a Park Jun-hung one. He started off as a screenwriter. Like I Saw the Devil, but then very quickly became one of the sort of most famous sort of muscular action films or muscular thrillers. I think that's the word other critics have used to describe his stuff. But he's also branched out more from like gangster stuff like New World and stuff into the very enjoyable weirdness of like The Witch and the sequel, which we won't go into. Their long titles, but both of them are on Shudder. He's definitely one of Korea's sort of go-to thriller genre sort of films. I've never disliked anything of his.
No, I think he's a solid director. I mean, I know I probably preferred some of the work he did as a screenwriter than as a director. But
sure,
he's I didn't. For instance, I didn't love New World, but I thought it was a very, very solid gangster drama thing.
Sunday afternoon type of film.
And it's, and I think the performances make that. Yeah. And the fact is he's a director that gets good performances out of his actors, which is no bad thing either, And he has the room and the script and album to do that. So he is a very solid...
He is. And this was a good film as well. I mean, the historical one about Japanese occupation and old Choi Min-sik is kind of being... not wanting to hunt down the last tiger in Korea, but then having to because he's got beef with the tiger or some tragedy. And it's a good film, very, very well made, quite gritty, just not very good CGI tiger.
That's right. I think I never got around to watching it because I saw that in the trailer.
Yeah, it's not good.
Off-putting, but
it's like the old. It looks like the old version of Brotherhood of the Wolf. Remember how bad those effects were?
Oh,
the creature. It's that level.
Again, we've discussed.
We have discussed. Okay, more from South Korea.
Yes.
The Treacherous from 2015, which is Min Kyung-dong. He's more of a horror director. Well, to me, he's more of a horror director. He's done a bunch of melodrama and stuff. But Memento Mori, the second one of the Whispering Corridors series, which doesn't really link that much into the others and is quite different, but is very good. And he also did some of the horror stories anthologies, which were surprisingly good. Anthologies. So, and this one's actually quite fun. I remember I reviewed it for Beyond Hollywood before easternKicks, and I think it's one of my many lost reviews that didn't turn up when the site was archived. So, but it's another Joseon era court intrigue, quite a lot of sex and betrayal and backstabbing, and a wicked tyrant of a king who's just mad into the carnal side of everything. And
which is pretty regular fare.
There's quite a lot of those kind of films.
Period dramas, yeah.
Yeah, but this was a good one. I mean, and there were so many of them coming around in that period in the mid, 2000 teens, whatever you call them. 2000 teens. Yeah.
The teens. Let's call them the teens.
I like the servant, the concubine, lots of these kind of films with sort of a bit of sauciness to them. But I remember this being one of the better ones. So that's actually quite a lot of fun if you're looking for a bit of Korean sauce, I guess you could call it.
Korean sauce.
More from Korea, Monster.
Not to be confused with the new film Korea called
And there's
Monster.
another Korean film called Monster as well, not to be confused with that, or Monster Boy, or
oh yeah, I was thinking of Monster Boy as well. Yeah,
very, very, very generic title, but it's quite a grim, gritty kind of Korean indie about people on the fringes of society. A young girl with some. I can't quite remember. It's some kind of like mental disability, but as usual, it's not really specified. Who's trying to protect her younger sister from gangsters, and at the same time, there's a serial killer who's going around not doing what serial killers do, and it all kind of comes together. And I remember it being very bleak. I put it that way, not in like a Kim Ki-duk kind of abstract bleakness, but I remember it being quite well done. And sort of very, very violent. So if you're looking for something not too cheerful, it's probably not a bad one to go for. We've also got from Korea Beastie Boys, which I always remember, but I never saw. Just because of the name.
Because we're old school.
Yeah, of course, man. So it's a strange
I mean, it must be on purpose, even though it's not even a vaguely. It's about male escorts who service rich women, apparently based on a famous novel, and it's some kind of film about capitalism and greed and artificiality. But you couldn't, because it's actually called like the Moonlight of Soul, the novel. So where you jump from that to the Beastie Boys, you can't have not thought that this is the name of one of the most famous rap groups in the world. It's a bit of an odd leap. So.
And it's a reasonably early appearance of Ha Jiang-woo as well. Isn't
Okay.
It?
Yeah. But it's not really the kind of thing I would probably go out of my way to watch or anything. But yeah, I always remember seeing the name.
Yeah, me too. Exactly the same reasons.
Another one which is actually music themed is Love Lies from 2016. It's another period drama. It's about a trio of singers, or Jiseangs, or however you pronounce it. I did see it. It's just exactly what you'd expect for sort of mid-range, 3 stars, handsomely shot, not massively interesting kind of film. So I remember it being pretty dry. So I'm not really suggesting people go for it. But it's interesting it's just turned up there. One I do want to watch is called Stalker, which is listed in different places with different years, but 2021, let's go with. I've seen it listed as 2022 as well. Horror film, only 73 minutes long.
Okay.
Nobody I know in it, in front of or behind the camera. And apparently, I mean, this is just quoting, it's about a young woman who suffers from a bizarre experience in a low-rent rooftop house. So, not really sure, but 73 minutes, man, that can't be.
Sounds a little bit like it might be one of your COVID era kind of
that's
low. A few cast members and
somebody had a camera and was bored.
Yeah, but that could be very interesting in itself.
Could be in 73 minutes. So,
again, yes. But is it just 73 minutes per chance?
2 more from South Korea. So Derailed from 2016, which is I remember it being good. I think it's Ma Dong-seok, or aka Don Lee. I think it's certainly one of the last indies he made. It came out just before Train to Busan.
Yeah,
and this, that was a film that catapulted him into the megastar he is today. But this was still a gritty one about a bunch of young runaway lads who. He's kind of a corrupt cop and he's trying to protect them, but then they do something stupid like ripping off drug dealers, and he tries to try and protect them. But it's another pretty grim film, as I remember, pretty violent, and it was a good time for Korea in indies in the teens, as we say, certainly the early to mid teens, where they were churning out a lot of, very grim indies, and usually about folk on the fringes of society, not in the mainstream and stuff. And this is another one. It's not particularly different, but it's a good one. So I would definitely check that out. And then finally The Magician, also 2016, which is just looking at the years of these things, it almost seems like they've said, okay, let's get a couple from 2015, from 2016, and who knows where they're.
It's strange because some of these were, I'm sure the Tiger was Studio Canal.
Yes, you could be right.
Quite a few. And I think they had some other things that they didn't necessarily put on home media. So without us checking this up right now.
No, but you're right, it could all come from a single source. That would make a lot more sense because it's not curated, it's not been selected. But The Magician's from Kim Dae-seong, and he mostly did kind of more of those kind of like Joseon court sexy intrigue type. He did The Concubine actually, which is a good one, to be fair.
Yeah.
Blood Rain is the only thing of his which I really thought was good, which was again a Joseon period film. So I guess that's his thing.
That's a bit of a classic, Blood Rain.
It doesn't seem to be. I must remember I'd forgotten about it completely, but it's a very grisly serial murder one with in the historical setting.
Yeah.
So I remember it fondly. At the time, I can remember actually going on my way to get the DVD, but it seems to have slipped off it's not remembered by too many people, I guess. Probably just because we had such a massive glut of these Joseon set things and everything.
Yeah.
And The Magician's not very good, as an aside. So I wouldn't track that. I wouldn't bother tracking it. I gave it 2.5 stars in my review, and
which is of that era is a quite a harsh review from the James.
Yeah, because you could have 3-star, but sometimes you want to get a film is clearly so 3-star it hurts, and you just go okay, take off half a mark. Because sometimes the averageness of things and the lack of any ambition of things can annoy you.
Yeah.
But whether it was 3 stars or 2.5 stars or 2 stars, it wouldn't change the fact that it's not really worth tracking down unless you're really desperate. I think the only other things I'd mention, I'm not going to go into them individually, but there's more third window films. It seems like almost all their catalogue must be on there. Certainly their back catalogue of stuff is on there now. Like this, I've now found like Girl Who Leapt Through Time, the 2022 live action one, Porno Star, and quite a few other ones. Too many to list here. So it's, you know, again, as we said last time, if you haven't seen third window films, I mean, that's a great way to
get into them. And if you've got a big selection, you've got to, you know, I'm going to say this is going to be a bit of a backhanded compliment, but you've got a wide enough selection to see different sorts of third window films as different as third window films get.
No, absolutely, because certainly towards the start, as we said before, it was very much in the sort of eccentric quirkiness and everything. Whereas, like, I mean, those two I mentioned there, Girl Leapt Through Time and Porno Star, are not like that. I mean, they're very different kinds of films. So you're right, you get much more of a range of their films. So yeah, they're on there now. I've also seen like a big growth in a number of like sort of made for the internet mainland Chinese films appearing, which were mostly historical films. So it's not quite fantasies because, you know, it's China, so you can't really have anything supernatural or too fantastical. But they're made for the internet, and they're pretty bad. Yeah, there might be a few good ones out there, but I'm never gonna really dive into them and find out. But it's just made by companies like iQIYI and everything, and they look like they're mostly green screen. Maybe shot some live action stuff on old TV sets, but big growth in a number of those on there. Given the licensing laws and stuff like that, I have no idea if they're legitimately there or if people are uploading them or what. Because there's no information. You know, a lot of these, if you see them on Amazon, it doesn't even tell you who the director is. They're just there. You know,
which is, you know, might be laziness, or it may be that the sources
could be. Yeah, it could be either. So I'm not too sure. But
I'm mutually exclusive as well.
No, so I'm not going to dive into any of those. Okay, Netflix then. Netflix.
Yeah. Before we move on, we should mention. Before we move on, we should mention the TV series Expats, which is by Lulu Wang, who directed The Farewell, and that's starting at the end of January. So at this point, we haven't seen it.
But by the time of listening, it's probably available for you to watch.
Quite possibly in the next few days.
Okay, Netflix then. Couple of similarly named films on the list. Badlands, that's Bad Space Lands. A new Japanese one, 2023, from Masato Haruda, who's very prolific, though I haven't really seen much of his stuff. I saw his very early film, Unigami, from 2001, which was another one which was, it's not really a horror film, it's kind of about grief and spirits and stuff, but it kind of got lumped in a bit, or they were hoping to lump it in a bit with sort of post-Ring films, when it really wasn't.
It's one of those kind of odd ones that kind of, when there was such a it was such a popular thing to grab hold of, it did get a reasonable release.
It did, and it just wasn't that kind of film. I remember it being surprisingly good once you realised it wasn't that kind of film.
It's really difficult when you're missold a film. No, I hate it. I really hate that.
No, I totally agree. But yeah, he also acted in The Last Samurai, bizarrely, you know, the Tom Cruise film, which I'm sure is very historically accurate. But yeah, Badlands is a crime thriller, brother and sister who come across money, decide to keep it. Turns out to be the money belonging to a bunch of violent criminals.
Never heard that one before.
No, it's a new one. It's quite creative. But the trailer looks okay. It's got Sakura Ando in it, who's one of the top Japanese actresses, who's very good at. I mean, she was recently in films I didn't really like Godzilla -1 and Shoplifters, but she is a good actress. I mean, if you think back to stuff like 100 Yen Love, she's very good in that. And it's got an actress called Kanon Nawata in it, who's also good and kind of upcoming, but it's about 2.5 hours long. And I don't... from the trailer doesn't make it look like it's either slow or substantial. It looks like it could be kind of a fun crime flick type of thing, but if that's true, then 2.5 hours sounds like a lot. But so I haven't seen any reviews for it yet, and it has been out for like a week or so at the time of recording. So if you got really good reviews, I suppose I might check it out. But based on the running time, I wouldn't jump into it into it randomly. But yeah, similar name, totally different. Badland Hunters, which comes at the end of January. New South Korean one, so 2024 film, probably the first 2024 film we've mentioned, I guess, and it's described as dystopian action film, again with Ma Dong-seok, Don Lee, and it again looks pretty good. It's original Netflix production, one of the ones they actually have produced in Korea. Not necessarily a sign of quality given a lot of the stuff Netflix churn out, but I don't know, it looks pretty fun. It's not too long, it's only about an hour and 45 minutes.
Yay.
But it's a sequel to Concrete Utopia.
Which I haven't seen.
Which I haven't seen either, but it didn't sound like the kind of film which would have a sequel. So I'm guessing it's just not a sequel. I'm guessing it's just Concrete Utopia, so it's about like some like massive disaster. And people like hole up in a tower block and they have to defend it against other people, and society all goes bad and stuff. So maybe this is like...
sort of the same universe, a bit like Train to Busan presents Peninsula.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Could well just be that kind of thing. So I don't think it's a sequel, more just it's different director, different everything. So I'm not sure why, but I will actually check that out for sure.
It's just strange to tie something in as a sequel,
with no reason,
not massively.
And it's not like Concrete Utopia is a film which has been on Netflix or released in the West. You know, it got some festival play, but
you might find it pops on in the next couple of weeks.
Actually, yeah, it might be a random thing where it's on Netflix hiding.
It's not unusual for other films or even TV series to kind of all
That's very true.
dumped on once.
Okay, to Taiwan next. Miss Shampoo, 2023 film, the latest from...
Which was doing the rounds a while back, wasn't it? Last year it was...
yes, it played a few festivals. I didn't see it making too much of a splash or anything.
No pun intended.
No, indeed. No, it didn't make too much of an impact then.
Keep with the splash, mate.
Okay. But it's the latest from Giddens Co, who's a Taiwanese writer, director, novelist who jumps around between pretty much every genre.
Yeah.
You can imagine. You are the apple of my eye and Mon Monsters.
There may have been one or two too many Mons there, but who can keep count?
No, it's such a weird name, but that is a great film.
It's a good film. It's
very good. This is like a comedy about a gangster gets his life saved by a hairdresser and starts bringing his boys in to get their hair done to pay her back and stuff. So, but it
sounds fun.
Action comedy apparently. Comedy, drama, romance.
And it's the sort of thing that Taiwan can actually turn out pretty well, sort of fun films and that sort of...
It's 2 hours long. You know, there was that other one recently which sounded fun, which is on Netflix. We mentioned, was it Marry My Dead Body or something?
Yeah.
And that's about 2 hours 10 or something.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen that either. So I think I will file this under the same kind of thing. If it was 90 minutes, I would watch this. I don't think I'll watch it.
I in that specific case, definitely in like 15, 20 minutes chopped out of it, at least would have made it a tighter film.
And as soon as you told me that, I just knew I was never going to watch it. So. It's actually, speaking of running times, the next one from Taiwan is kind of interesting. There's a kind of controversial point, just The Abandoned, which again 2023 film. Colette reviewed it for us at the Kicks and really liked it. Said it was a noir-esque journey into the depths of human depravity, which sounds good. A serial killer crime mystery. But she reviewed it from festivals, and everywhere the film is listed as 2 hours 8 minutes. And it's IMDb. I checked the festivals it's played at. It's always listed at that. But on Netflix, it's 1 hour 44 minutes. I've had a look around. I can't find anything saying it's cut. It's a different version. There's nothing. I haven't come across anything or even people commenting about it. And this has been on Netflix for a couple of weeks now. It came in just in the new year, so I don't know. I kind of mystified. It's a strange one. Because you can imagine Netflix on the one hand cutting something, but you can also, why would they bother? I mean, Netflix aren't really going to care if it's like 24 minutes longer. You know,
unless it's come from the director production side where they decided to tighten it up for a kind of proper worldwide release versus sort of festival circuit. That would be unusual.
That's quite unusual because it would take budget to re-edit a film. Yeah. And why would you? I don't know. Yeah. Because it didn't get me. It was not just Colette, but other people gave it good reviews at festivals. So it wasn't like people were coming back with saying what you just said about Marry My Dead Body. It would be great or a lot better if you cut out 20 minutes. I didn't read anyone saying that about this. So I'm definitely want to watch it, but I don't want to watch it until I know if it's cut for length. I'm actually perfectly okay with that. If it's
cut for violence, gore, content, anything. I'm not.
I can't see Netflix going.
I can't. No, why would they? No, it's be. I think you're right. It must come from the producer, director, or that side of things. But there's always a chance it was censored in Taiwan, like the festival version, which did the rounds, and then when it came to trying to release it in Taiwan, they might have sent. I don't know. But when I find out about it, I'll try and I'll watch it then, but not until then, just in case I get shortchanged on the gore. But anyway, a few others from around Southeast Asia, starting with A Very Good Girl, Filipino film from last year. Dark comedy, the revenge plot in the world of retail. It's got Dolly Lee Leon in it as well, who's always good value for money.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's actually got good reviews. It did well domestically. Had a bit of a limited international rollout. It got released in the States anyway. I'd never heard of the director, Peterson Vargas, but again, sounds like fairly standard plot. But if it's well done, that might be quite fun. And it's an interesting one to see turning up on Netflix. Actually, all these ones I'm listing here seem pretty random for Netflix. Next one being an Indonesian horror film from last year called Mantra Suragama. Kind of mix of folklore and haunted college dorm shenanigans. I mean, it looks decent, but the reviews have been pretty poor for it. It's not, and as well because it's not long. It's 1 hour 38, but it's said to feel way too long, even at that length, which isn't. And it's clearly
That's not good.
Yeah, it doesn't really push me towards it. And it's clearly commercial horror rather than like sort of Joko Anwar, Gong Tao sort of proper, old school Indonesian horror stuff. So I don't know. It's a shame because I had this on my list to watch, but no, I'm not too sure. Vietnam, Song of the South, not to be confused with the old sort of dodgy Disney film.
Indeed.
Yeah, an epic war drama based on a famous novel. I think TV series as well about a boy trying to track down his father, having various experiences, encounters. Not really my kind of thing. Apparently it's pretty good. Looks like it leans into melodrama and tragedy. Handsome production values. I do like that phrase. But if you're into that kind of thing, it's probably not a bad bet, but I'm not really. Same kind of goes for Red Life, a new Thai film for a new director called Ekalak Klunsen. A group of youngsters in Bangkok living on the fringes, looking for kicks and learning life lessons against the backdrop of the harsh realities of society. But the problem with it, from what I read, is that for Thailand it gets quite spicy, apparently, in terms of sexual content, themes of drugs and everything. But because of censorship and the way things are in Thailand, you don't really see anything. So that's kind of would be both a letdown, and I suspect for international audiences, if you see something like that, which is pretty tame, with all the best will in the world, it's kind of hard to get past that, if you know what I mean. If you're watching it, so yeah, I don't think it'll have too much impact, to be honest. But I don't know. We'll see if anyone gives it a good write up. But final film I'll mention it's an American film, Uma. 2022, but it's Korean writer director, headlined by Sandra Oh. So it's not a co-production. It is a Hollywood film, but Sam Ramai, one of the producers. But it got a cinema release. It got released in the cinema over here in the UK as well. I didn't get a chance to see it, so but I watched it, and it's actually pretty good. It's only about 80 minutes long, which of course turned me towards it.
Of course,
it's kind of like a small cast. There's a lot of weird stuff about bees in it. It is kind of more of a drama about mothers and daughters and different generations than anything else. And supernatural stuff, it's not massively necessary, but also not badly done.
Sure.
So I wouldn't approach it if you're looking for like a horror. So it's kind of like a horror if you like drama. I guess it's not frightening, but it doesn't really try to be either. It's not like a big twist type of film or anything like that. And it's not. It builds to quite an interesting. It's very familiar sort of ending, but it builds to a slightly more interesting take on things. It doesn't sort of build into some massive like over the top Hollywood ending type of thing. So I would actually recommend it. And then finally for Netflix, we don't go into TV series much.
And we probably should do more, isn't there? That Jeongs and the Creatures.
Yeah, I mean that one is. I've seen Colette posting about it, saying she absolutely loves it.
Yes, and we've got a review coming out of it. At time of release, it will probably be on the site, which is rather more negative.
I was going to say everything else I've read about it is that it's awful.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've seen like what do you call them, K-nets that have had their claws out for it and said the acting's dreadful, everything about it just doesn't work. But Colette has posted very positive things about it. So no, I'm not going to check it out because I've seen all the people not piling on about it, but there's enough real negativity about it to make it not really something I'd want to watch.
And there is plenty to watch.
Well, there is.
You know, and there's, I mean, I don't know how long we are away from it, but there's going to be another series of All of Us Are Dead, etc., 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 to kind of catch up on. So
I still haven't seen the Sweet Home series too either.
Exactly.
So there's two. Oh, I'm getting stressed now. I've almost finished my goddamn beer. So, but one series to highlight, I guess, is Brother Son.
Yeah.
The new, and it's an American one. I haven't seen it yet, but getting a lot of press for having Michelle Yeoh in it, and it's interesting enough plot. You know, it's some family of gangsters and retired, and then the father gets killed in LA, and the retired hitman's son travels to the States to try and find out what happened. And reviews for it have generally seem to be pretty good. But it's because it's Netflix. Frankly, I'm waiting to see if it gets renewed or cancelled, because it clearly sounds like it's not a limited series. You know, it does seem to be
an ongoing series that's going to need at least one more season.
Exactly, and I can't. I've wasted too much time before a Netflix series which end without actually ending. You know, they just get cancelled. So, and it's a bit weird. They usually announce these things pretty quickly. So it's a bit weird they haven't said anything. So yeah, I'll wait.
And it's been getting some reasonable traction. So you would have expected them to mention that by now.
You'd think so. So yeah, I don't know. It's on my list, but I'm waiting to see. Same as The Abandoned, I'm waiting to see what the deal is. But iPlayer, a very big addition, and just under the radar. I mean, they don't really announce like what they're adding in the same way you can, you know.
And I think with iPlayer, one thing you've got to be aware of is sometimes it's because it's on one of the channels.
Yes.
Whichever, you know, and one thing I found, and regular listeners to have, even over the short time we've been doing these episode of easternKicks Picks, you may have noticed is that they don't necessarily stay online for very long. So by the time you listen to this episode, it might not be there. But yes, the big one is Decision to Leave.
Which you can talk about, because I've not seen it because it didn't look great to me, and it's quite long, and it didn't look great.
Oh, well, I've spoken about it. I think possibly a few times on the podcast.
It's come up before, yeah.
And I'm going to fall back on my Tenacious D analogy, where it's a tribute. It's a tribute to the greatest film ever made, although second greatest film ever made to be as it is now, according to BFI's BFI Sight and Sound poll. But it's still a tribute. It's not the film itself. You know, and that film is Vertigo. So it's very beautiful. It's
handsome.
Handsome production values. I mean, it's beyond handsome. Whatever the kind of level is above handsome, I don't know.
Debonair.
Okay, let's go with Debonair. I think
Debonair production values.
But it is overly convoluted for what it is, and I really didn't just get the chemistry between the lead actors, which I think is something you need to buy into, and even
for sure.
with the kind of more stalkery version that you get in Vertigo between Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak, there is a chemistry there.
There's a really good sort of awkward. You can feel something, a chemistry,
you know, and it's not in this. However much they try and do it, it's. I think we spoke about it, but it's more about Park Chan-wook's fascination with Tang Wei, rather than the characters. Somehow there's a misalignment there, and we kind of meant to feel the same as Park Chan-wook does. But
you're making it sound creepy.
Yeah, and perhaps not unfounded. But I mean, I if you have seen everything by Park Chan-wook, then watch this. If you haven't, I would actually go and find some.
I have seen everything by him, but
I thought he was much better in. I mean, there's so many directors we'd say about his earlier films, but with him, I think when he started getting in more to like relationships and things, I don't think he does a good job of female characters and female relationship, and I'd really,
which is interesting, and I think we've talked about this as well. But this film and lots of his films are co-written by a female.
That's true.
Screenwriter.
Yes, yeah.
But I agree. I think probably the best of that is First, which actually kind of does that. But it's because it gives a little bit more room for that. In some ways, it's still quite awkward, but that awkward kind of brings something else that works.
They're not human characters, technically, in that. But it's a fair point. It does. Thirst is a good film, but
I kind of agree. There's something that doesn't really quite gel in the way that he writes about and portrays female characters in his film,
which is you can say a lot
of male directors who just don't really hardly even give them a line if you're.
Well, that's true. So Chang-Che. But yeah, with his stuff, it just feels a bit like he's moving folk around on a chessboard, And I think when you got to things like Old Boy and whatnot, that was absolutely fine. It worked fantastically. But when you're actually trying to do something more relationship based, it don't really.
Yeah.
If you don't feel anything for the characters,
I think there's a lot of, because it's so heavily styled it kind of. It's almost trying to disguise that, but it doesn't help. I'd much rather we had a bit more, just a bit more emotion between the characters that are going on.
Has it got much action or anything in it, or is that a stupid question?
It's long. Not really. It's not.
It's a long film.
An action film. When I tell you what I mean. I didn't feel the length of it. It doesn't. That part doesn't feel massively daunting. It doesn't feel boring.
Yeah.
But it actually feels kind of almost the other direction. There's kind of definitely there's too much going on. The overlaying of different stylistic effects really started to annoy me at certain stages. There's a few bits where it works very, very well, and quite a few more bits where I just thought it was getting in the way of the story, and it's just there to kind of look flashy.
If it's 2 hours 20 minutes long, then it doesn't. With him, I wouldn't be bothered if it's 2 hours 20 minutes long if I thought it looked good, but. I don't know. It's weird because I really feel like I should watch it. And if you told me from like 15 years ago that there's a Park Chan-wook film did the rounds on festivals, it's been available, now it's on iPlayer and I'm still not watched it, I would what's wrong with you? So I don't know why. I mean, I should watch it, but there's just too much other stuff which I actually really want to watch. And because it's been it's been covered by everyone, I'm not going to write about it, we're not going to podcast about it, so I don't really feel motivated. But His other things on iPlayer as well. That series he did.
Right, the
drummer girl.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Graham Grid. I did, and that was a solid series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it like a spy thing? Or
it's sort of a spy thing. Sort of gets into sort of the the spies' relationship kind of thing. And it
is it a limited series? Just like a one? It's not because it was.
It was a limited series.
Okay. Well, I might check. Actually, that's more. I'm more likely to check that out than Decision to Leave. So I might give that a shot. That's on iPlayer as well. It's been on there for a while. It's 2018 or 19 or something.
It was something like that, wasn't it? It was a little while back.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that's it for the streamers. So let's go to the cinema. And I guess the first one to mention is In Broad Daylight, the Hong Kong film. Which is out now. I mean, by the time of you guys listening to this, it probably won't be showing anymore. Central City Media. I haven't seen it. Directed by Lawrence Kwan. Dinner for You. It's got David Chiang. Probably a small one. It's kind of a newsroom drama based on a series of real life scandals and crimes. Kind of focuses on social care and crime homes. Apparently pretty good. It's apparently quite gritty and everything.
Yeah.
It seems like another one in the tradition of a Guilty Conscience, which was hugely popular, which we screened.
Yes.
One of the biggest Hong Kong films last year.
When we had Jennifer Yu as a guest.
That's true. Christ, we did.
Chinese Video Festival.
Yes, for old Men on the Dragon. Oh,
no, it was for Tracy.
Jesus, you're right. Wow. Okay.
We're going back.
You're right. And a Shuke.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing this, but it's
it's not screening very widely, even in London. It's one of those things where it's at a handful of cinemas, but it's showing like 9 o'clock screenings, and I can't really be bothered. So I have not really.
But I mean, to be fair, I mean,
it's hard getting these films into cinemas.
It's hard getting these films into cinemas, and I think it's for smaller distributors and not knowing exactly where to place them. They don't necessarily get a great deal with, particularly the mainstream cinemas. Popular cinemas of what time slot they get, especially if they're not looking for that many slots. They'll just
no. If it was playing somewhere convenient at a convenient time, I would definitely go and see it because I'm quite interested in it. But I probably wouldn't go to like a 9 o'clock screening somewhere because it's not a short film or anything. So you kind of
no.
Anyway, it is.
We're old. Well, I mean, to be fair, we're old men. We like to be in bed by 10 p.m.
No, that's not. I like to be on my sofa watching horror films at 9 o'clock. I don't really sleep early, but equally, going out at night and everything like that. The day's done by that point. Anyway, that's a different conversation. But yeah, it is good to see films like this because nobody really releases Hong Kong films much in the cinema, so it's good to see.
Absolutely, yeah,
it's good to see that coming out. So I would certainly say go see it and support it. Ping Pong is getting a re-release from Park Circus in early February. That's a 1986 classic. It's a UK film.
UK production, sort of, slightly kind of Hong Kong co-production as I...
It's definitely got, definitely got involvement. Kind of. I mean, it's directed by Po Chi Leong, who's, done a lot of stuff in Hong Kong.
Yeah, so I mean, Hong Kong 1941 was one of his biggest films. The Island is
that's right.
Kind of horror. And then more recently, like, I think you kind of said here, he's like Western horrors as well.
Mm. Art housey ones like Wisdom of Crocodiles, which is a really quite a wacky film. Cabin by the Lake and its sequel, which I haven't seen. So very varied filmography. I haven't seen it, Ping Pong, myself. Have you?
I have a vague memory. I might have seen it on Channel 4 because I think it was one of those kind of early.
It was around
Film 4.
It was
a production. So I'm pretty sure I saw it because it's got David Yip.
Yes,
who was the Chinese detective.
Right.
Back in whenever that series was on, like 1979, 1980.
Okay.
And before David Yip joined the cast of Brookside. I was a big David Yip fan in those days.
Sounds like it, man. But Lucy Sheen's in it, who worked with quite a lot through Chinese Visual Festival.
Yeah.
So first film to be shot in Chinatown in London.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, if it screens there, I'm definitely going to go and see it.
Yeah.
It's good because I've never seen it. So if I can get to see it on the big screen for the first time, that'd be pretty cool. So I'm quite into that.
And I mean, other things that are coming up as well. So on the 9th of February as well, we've got the release of Perfect Days, which is another one of these films by. I mean, this should be some sort of sub category of German directors making films in Japan. So a few years back we had Werner Herzog doing one. And now we've got Wim Wenders. It's got Koji Yasuhiro, who was in 13 Assassins and lots of things. He's a massively well-known star who would recognise. And it's set in Tokyo in Japanese, and it's kind of, I mean, whether we include that or not in these rundowns as
that's
kind
fair
of
enough. I mean, I've included Uma, which is Hollywood film, so it's called Korean American. So no, I think it's fair. It's in these picks, it's always fair as long as it's not just Asia adjacent. As long as there's a and if it's shot in Japan and it's got a Japanese cast in Japanese, that's fair. It's fair game. Fair game.
But it's interesting to see he's German. There seems to be following a bit of a trend, which is bizarre and has come from nowhere. And in a similar fashion, it's a new French film, but it's by the Vietnamese French director Tran Anh Hien.
Oh yeah.
Because that's coming out, and that's coming out on the 16th of February. the taste of things.
Mm-hmm.
There are some screenings of his debut, The Scent of Green Papaya, which is quite a well-known film, but I don't think it's massively...
It's been a while.
I don't think it's massively kind of available to watch.
No,
so
it's been a while since it's been anywhere. Yeah.
At the time, it did very well. Won the Camera d'Or at the 1993 Cannes Film Festival. It was nominated for the Best Foreign Language Film at the 1993 Oscars. So didn't get it, obviously, but that was his kind of entry point into film and other stuff. So I mean, it's not knowing anything about the new film, which seems very food based, so that could that seems to go down quite well with audiences. Yeah. But you know, there is a chance to see his debut as well.
Okay, slow
which has kind of brought us back to
slow cinema, though, aren't they?
Yeah, but that's kind of brought us back to the BFI South Bank where we started off this episode.
That's true. Nicely done, tying it off. Yeah, it's interesting. It's good to see things coming out more in the cinema. I mean, I'm not really. I don't have a massive amount of stuff on my radar for new Asian films coming out throughout the year. So it's quite hopeful to see both.
There are a few more. There are a few more coming out later on, so in March. But
no, we can come to. But
we can come to those. But
is there anything you are particularly looking forward to? Sorry, I said the tone of my voice there. Is there anything you're looking forward to? Yeah, that's
very unconvincing. I mean, the trouble is because for us, there is stuff that we'll have seen. So you know, we've got Evil Does Not Exist, and we've got Corridas, Hero Corridas, Monster coming out. Well, I've seen that already. You know, and sort of we're back to adjacent with Bong Joon-ho and Mickey 17.
Of course, that's right. Which has been removed from the release schedule now.
Is it?
Yeah, a couple of days ago, it's disappeared.
Uh-oh.
Don't know why.
You know, and also quite interesting on the streamers is, and you know, we're looking ahead to March. It's a Free Body Problem.
That's going to be, I'm sure that's the kind of thing we might end up doing an episode about. Because I've read the books, or you know, the English translated versions. Obviously, I don't see how they're going to film it. I mean, I think it'll be very interesting because on the one hand, the political side of it is very, very murky. In terms, I don't mean that in a bad way. Even I just mean it's a very interesting way of dealing with the Cultural Revolution. Put it that way.
Right.
Because I'm trying not to give any spoilers, but at the same time, it's really abstract in a very good way. I enjoyed the books. I mean, and I've been told the translations of the ones I read are good. So it's very, very abstract. It's very high level philosophy in there and everything, and not much action. Not much happens.
But so we'll see how it's dealt with because it's being adapted by the Game of Thrones guys, isn't it? So
who did initially
a great job when they had something to work from, and that was the problem, wasn't it? That they ran out of material because he hadn't written it.
No, don't get me started ranting about George R. Martin. R. Martin. Anyway, the old fool. And anyway, never mind. But with this though as well, it's culturally very, very, very Chinese. And again, an interest because you know anyone who listens to the podcast, you know, we do have the odd sort of jive about mainlandification of cinema and state of Chinese cinema and stuff. But it's a fascinating way they actually approach Chinese modern history and culture and everything through this, you know, which you could call an alien invasion, but it's not. Anyway, we'll see. I'm very interested to see because obviously it's a mostly American cast and everything. So I'm guessing they've completely changed. I don't know. We don't know. We'll see. Actually, one of the first series I'm actually really I might binge it when it comes. That's what the kids call it, isn't it? So binging.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking binge drinking.
Well, yeah, that's what we grew up with.
I haven't quite outgrown.
So anyway, looking ahead,
that's for the future.
That's it for now. Don't forget you can find all of our previous episodes on Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe now and you'll never miss an episode. But for now, cheers.
Well, cheers. Go to the pub so I can actually get a proper drink.
See ya.